Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
Greetings, and thank you for joining me, Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, we are so happy to have as our guest Nadine Artemis. Nadine is an innovative aromacologist and creator of Living Libations, a luxury line of organic, wild-crafted, non-GMO serums, immune-enhancing formulas, medicinal blends, and essential oils. Nadine is the author of several books, including Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance, and Holistic Dental Care. Her healing creations, along with her concept of Renegade Beauty, encourage effortless and shoe regimes and inspire people to rethink conventional notions of beauty and wellness. Nadine is a frequent commentator on health and beauty for media, and her products have received rave reviews in the New York Times, Goop, New York Magazine, the National Post, In Style, The Hollywood Reporter, and many more. To find out more about what we're talking about with Nadine today, go to livinglibations.com. That's livinglibations.com. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
So I have copies of your beautiful book, Renegade Beauty, and also the one on dental care, holistic dental care. This is a very heavy book, this Renegade Beauty. Not too many books are this heavy anymore.
I did want to get it all in there, and we definitely had to work with the publishers on that, but they saw the value of sort of creating this beauty Bible.
And it has a lot of beautiful full color pictures.
Yeah, and pretty much all of those I took just around our land.
So let's go back in time and see how you got involved in natural.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. As a teen, I was definitely, had all the regular things and all the regular beauty products. But in grade 9, we got to do a science fair project, and it was a little more of those self-directed learning moments. So I got to choose the subject, and I was fascinated by perfumes. And I found this book at the library that spoke about how perfumes were made and their history. Because back then, it was, I don't know if it's more clear today, but definitely, we didn't know where the substances from the bottles sort of came from. And it was so cool to read about the history and how they created distillation of the essential oils in ancient Egypt, and, how you could find these essential oils today. So I recreated L'air de Temps, which was a popular perfume at the time by Nina Ricci. And that was fascinating to me. I loved inhaling all the essential oils. It was the first time I was smelling something natural. And even though in those days, I didn't quite know the difference between naturals and synthetics, I knew I was smelling something totally different when I was catching that first whiff of jasmine or blood orange. So then, fast forward to I'm 18. Now I'm at university. I think I'm using more environmentally friendly products, but I start really understanding food and sort of the 5 food brands at the supermarket. There's sort of I'm sort of exaggerating, but was 5 companies that are in charge of most of the food supply.
No, that's true. Well, wait, that's a good point, Nadine. Let's go into that. That is true. If you look deeper into something that you think there are 5 different brands, but they're all owned by one company.
Yeah. So it's sort of like really, the modern processed food was sort of from the same thing. And then I got this book. Luckily, when I was at university, there's a little health food store in an old home that was like a few blocks from my house, and I had to walk by it every day. So I eventually bought, every book in there. And there was one on reading labels at the supermarket. And it was so eye-opening that the Fiber and All brand which I can't totally remember now, but it was like kind of a cardboard derivative, and like seeing secondary ingredients. What do preservatives mean? What's on the label, what's omitted from the label. And then I kind of just turned over and looked at my beauty care products and realized, the fuzzy peach bath oil had never been impeached. The cucumber face toner had never seen a cucumber. And so, while I was deeply diving then from my food knowledge, really from that moment forward, it was like over about a month period of time where I, never bought processed food again. I started making my own foods like sourdoughs and cashew milk and really getting into it. And then I was kind of, while I was disappointed to find out about the ingredients in my body care, it was kind of exciting because I loved mixing and concocting. I mean, even as that little girl, I would be remixing the perfumes or melting down my mom's lipsticks to form a new color. So it was kind of exciting. And I started making my own body care products. But was also a whole layer to that was really researching and looking at, ancient cosmetics, the stuff happening in Europe around the 18th century, 19th century.
Well, wait a minute. Let's not wait. Let's talk about some of those things.
Yeah.
That's very interesting topics. So, of course, I think most people know, just from even basic high school, that they've seen, let's say, ancient Egyptians, where they actually were using topical cosmetics.
Cleopatra, like whatever kind of was their version of a bathroom back then, beside her bathroom was a whole thing called a still room, where rose water, for example, would be distilled fresh, maybe not daily, but like weekly, monthly. And so it was like a whole part of her bathroom that was sort of like the production of the ingredients and the unguents and the oils that she would anoint on her body.
So that goes way back in time.
Yeah. And I find that fascinating.
So all that study, and what were you saying about what was going on in Europe? Not that long ago.
Yeah, well, I was really looking sort of at the turn of the 19th century stuff and 18th century, because that was just sort of before synthetics were like around, in the early 1900s, synthetics came into fruition more. So, and that's when the plant world sort of got divided. And then we were looking at, extracting certain components of the plant, like let's get the salicylic acid from the willow bark, and then maybe that gets syntheticized. So the time just before that was pretty juicy in European perfumery and cosmetics. And so I do find that fascinating. And then when I was reading about all of that, then I'm, maybe reading recipes from ancient Egypt or like certain plants or ingredients. And I'm like, I need to smell that. I need to catch a whiff of what was going on. And so then it became my mission to find all these beautiful raw materials that weren't available. And then also then once they started coming in, I was just really seeing the differences in quality. And then it became my mission to just make sure I was getting the best of the best. And then I started to import these rare and wonderful essential oils into Canada as I was going to university.
Are you located in Canada now?
I am. Yeah, we're in Ontario, Canada.
And it's still cold up there. Almost
yes,
all my neighbors, I'm here in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And
oh, nice.
Really, almost the whole building actually is owned by Canadians, but they're not here this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the very difficulty with going across the border. So there's a lot of issues going on there now.
Yeah. This is like one of the rare winters that we're here all winter as well.
Because they're making it difficult to go back and forth on the
border. Yeah. And it's not a good time to travel. But the fun part is the rays are now long enough in the sun. So about, 3 weeks ago, the sun rays were long enough to start generating vitamin D again. So even though we see snow all around, you already feel that the spring is coming, and you can get a tan if you focus on tanning in the snow.
Well, your work is very interesting, and I noticed that you mentioned some really top teachers. Your book is laid out beautifully and is so full of information. For instance, Kurt Schonbelt, he has been on this program many times.
Oh, that's amazing. Kurt is awesome. I've known him since about 1994.
Yes, and I've known him a lot longer than that, because I've been doing natural medicine since 1964.
I love it.
So I think that you've done a great job bringing together a lot of excellent information in both of your books. We'll come back to Renegade Beauty, but let's also say, why did you focus on dentistry, dental care, if you're not a dentist, right? So
yes, but I have teeth, and I feel like all us people with teeth that aren't dentists really needed to know, like, how do we take care of our teeth on a daily basis so that the once or twice a year visit isn't so, crazy or intense or bad, bearing bad news. And so I feel, because I also feel that health and beauty are inextricably bound, and what we know about oral care, which, even when I first started researching it 20 years ago, my gosh, how much it's evolved and how much more we know just through even one component of like understanding that the mouth has a microbiome.
There's a word that's become like a whole kind of hot word recently.
Yes, it's a very
I
hot
lecture
word
about it a lot. So let's go into that. What do you mean by that term, Nadine, microbiome?
Well, I feel like perhaps a lot of people now know that there's a gut microbiome, and we understand how that's really key for digestion and our whole body. So what we may or may not know is that there's really microbiome. There's our whole microbiome, which is sort of the general word. It's not even in our gut. So there is the gut microbiome, but the microbiome is the whole thing. And that's really the family of bacteria that are essential for our body's immune systems, health systems, endocrine systems, like basically keeping us alive. And really, we've just come to know and really understand the microbiome in the past 10 years, sort of as mainstream, and then really the past 20 years. So prior to that, it was all about the cells and the genome, but we're kind of in a post-genomic era because now we know, oh my gosh, bacteria, there's billions and they're just as important as the cells. And the bacteria have their own genome. So we're kind of these hosts to a whole bacterial banquet, and we kind of want to allow the good bacteria to take care of our health. And and there's a microbiome in our guts, in our mouths, our whole skin. There's a whole skin microbiome, and another key area for women is the vaginal microbiome. Of course, there's also the nose and ear microbiome. So the whole thing's connected.
Yes, and I want to remind our listeners that you are listening to Herbally Yours and the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, and today my guest is Nadine Artemis, and she wrote several books, beautiful books. One is called Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance, and also Holistic Dental Care. So there's a lot to go into, but we'll focus on, a few more of those. I know in holistic dental care, you really give an excellent self-care regimen so that people can hold on to their teeth longer.
Yes, we do want to keep our teeth healthy. And there's a lot of, in the world of functional medicine doctors, there's a sense and a feeling that, 80% of all disease starts in the mouth. And so it's a very key area to take care of. It's something that we can feel afraid of or neglect sometimes, or maybe we did get not positive news at the dentist. So maybe we want to avoid taking care of our mouths. But I developed these 8 steps that are really easy to follow. And you can just simply do the 8 steps with using baking soda and sea salt. Of course, with Living Libations, we make a beautiful organic oral care line. And so we have those steps in it with those products as well. But I do always like to empower people and say, like, literally, if you just stop using whatever commercial stuff you're using right now, because that does disrupt the microbiome and it disrupts the beneficial bacteria in the mouth, which you want them doing their job and you want them taking care of the pathogens. And so when we're using things like sodium lauryl sulfate or triclosan or the harsh synthetic alcohols in mouthwash, which are responsible for over 36,000 cases of oral cancer a year, all of that is messing with the mouth's microbiome. So you can just move those aside. And literally, if for the rest of your life you just used sea salt, baking soda, and variations of those, like making like salt brines you can do mouth rinses of, that kind of thing, then you will be far, far better off and have a much healthier mouth.
Well, in your book, Holistic Dental Care, you do lay out all of these with, by the way, again, beautiful illustrations. So let's talk about some of them. For instance, you talk about a tongue scraper. That is very well known in Ayurvedic circles, but certainly not in Western circles. So let's talk about a tongue scraper. How would someone get that, and why would they want it?
Yes, so it's really, it is a thousands of year old practice. It did come out of Ayurvedic medicine. And there is plaque on the tongue too, of course. You know, it's not separate from everything else going on in the mouth. And so in there, you know, are bacteria, like, so there's good bacteria and then there's, you know, not good bacteria. And then there's also in our mouths is like fungi and viruses and all that kind of stuff. So you can buy a tongue scraper, and there's all different kinds. We have ones with copper, stainless steel, but you can also just take a spoon, because again, it's great when you can start these things right away, and you just scrape the plaque off your tongue. You do, you know, 2 to 5. You'll find after you've been doing it for a while, you know, you'll do it less, and you'll just see all the plaque that comes off, and you rinse that, and that really helps with the bacteria in the mouth, the plaque formation, and also keeping breath really healthy. And
now, where would someone find a tongue scraper? Because that's not like just a normally thought of implement, at least not here in the U.S.
That's true. I think though now, like, well, you know, on our site, I think on, of course, eBay, Amazon, and I think your local health food store would probably have them now too.
I do want to give out a shout out again that Nadine's site is Living Libations with an S, livinglibations.com. And you know, Nadine, after our show, after people listen to our show, it then will be archived, and you can visit the archives anytime. And we have always a link to the guest, a live link, so they can find you that way as well. And I think that they're really excellent. And I have to say that you sent me a little sample of the all-natural toothpaste that you put together, which does taste excellent. And it feels like it does have baking soda in it.
Yes, I'm sure. Do you know which one you got? I mean, they all actually have baking soda because we love that. Now, the thing with, you know, there is all the ingredients I've just mentioned, which are awesome. The fun thing about bringing essential oils into the oral care mix is because of their potent antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral properties. And so so I'd like to think of them as botanical biotics. One issue with antibiotics, while they are very useful medicine, is that we have been overusing them for decades. And, you know, like the average amount of triclosan, not triclosan, it's another T antibiotic. Anyway, like it's in, you know, just the milk you buy. There's just a regular allowance because it's in all modern agriculture antibiotics. And then we're overprescribed them. And what happens is antibiotics, you know, they're kind of like these indiscriminate assassins of the microbiome. So they take the bad, but they also take the good with it. And so overuse of antibiotics has really depleted our microbiomes. It's depleted the diversity and the count of the different species of bacteria. And so that's what a lot of modern dentist practice are doing, or even modern food. Like a lot of the things we do right now are making our microbiome extinct.
Yeah, and I've been worrying about that. You know what, Nadine, what's been coming up for me that I've been concerned about is with this massive amount of cleaning everything because of COVID and people going bonkers with all these sprays and antimicrobials. I'm afraid that's going to create a much stronger and more virulent microbes.
Well, that is an interesting thought, and that's one reason why triclosan was taken out of hand sanitizer, or like the hand, you know, when you go to like a hospital and you pump the hand gel on your hands. Triclosan used to be in there, but they realized it was making, because it was affecting the microbiome, it was making people more vulnerable to the superbugs. and there's the hygiene hypothesis, which has been discussed a lot before the pandemic, just being that, we are over killing, like in our cleaning, but it's because of the things like Lysol and that kind of stuff that's killing in that way. Whereas we want to be clean, it's good to wash your hands with soap, just in normal times, because we do pick up germs, and then we could put that in our eye. And soap, even as simple it is, whether it's natural or, your Dawn, it does actually do the job of, breaking down the virus coat. And it doesn't, then it's not so dangerous to the rest of us. And a hand sanitizer, those can be very harsh, except you can do natural ones with real alcohol, essential oils. And then, then your hands are clean, but you're not sort of getting a negative side effect. And how this relates to the using essential oils in oral care is because I think of them more like botanical biotics. And what we now know with the study of the microbiome is that essential oils are quorum sensing inhibitors, which QSI for short, which is kind of like, what does that mean? But the cool thing, what that means is that the essential oils are able to clean up the pathogenic activity, but work with the beneficial bacteria. So, that is exactly the kind of medicine we need right now. We need the ability, for the things that we're using to clean or to care for our bodies, where they can address the pathogens. So essential oils can maybe penetrate a biofilm and take care of the pathogen, but then they're not destroying the whole, friendly bacterial situation, which is just such a key, just such a great thing, a tool for us to have in these times, is that kind of botanical intelligence.
Well, in your book, Holistic Dental Care, you lay out this, something everybody can really do very easily. Mm-hmm. You talk about a salt rinse, scraping the tongue, brushing the gums, which we'll go back to instead of brushing the teeth, and then an electric toothbrush, and then a rubber-tipped gum tool, and then flossing, and then an extra gum care, and I guess you're talking about sort of like a water pick hydro irrigator there. Yeah, I actually do all those things. It doesn't take that long.
No, it doesn't take that long. And it can really, if you do that twice a day, just start doing that is great. But also if you're going to see the dentist, get 3 months, 6 months of doing that twice a day and it will just really turn things around. And you'll have a better appointment, just a happier mouth, the gums. It's very important that we take care of our gums because they're holding our teeth in place. And receding gums, it exposes a different type of enamel along the gum line, and that it's not the same kind of enamel that's on the rest of the teeth. And so gum line cavities are very vulnerable. And then as that gum recedes, that tooth is just so vulnerable. And then you can get more tooth sensitivity as well. So we really want to take care of the area where the gum joins the tooth.
Now, why do you talk about brush your gums? Because usually you talk about brush your teeth.
Yeah, well, that's a kind of a neglected area, right? If you think, it's like there's the gums right by the teeth, but it goes all the way up into the cheeks. And that, of course, can get plaquey and bacteria and all of that. And we want to stimulate the skin and the blood vessels in the gums so that we're bringing life force to that area. And when you're using things like, cinnamon, and because we have little dental serums that are with the botanical biotics, and those help bring blood circulation to the area. They're antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial. So they'll just help to rejuvenate the skin in that area, which is doing a lot of work for you. And then a lot of people have bleeding and receding gums, and people may floss, or maybe they're discouraged from flossing because they bleed. And so if you just take one of those dental serums, one drop, you run it along the floss, then you get those botanical biotics right up in between the teeth and those little crevices, helping to the gum tissue in that area. And most people find that once they start doing that, the bleeding gum situation clears up within 24 hours. And for some, it may take a week, but it works fast because the gums are a thinner tissue. And so while they're a little more vulnerable, they are quick to heal.
Now, why do you recommend, in terms of if somebody does want to purchase one of these electric toothbrushes why do you recommend the one that has a round head?
I like, having tried so many, I found the really, really expensive ones weren't necessarily better. And I like the round head because it was a good shape alternative to, most were rectangles. So if we're doing the first, because I do have 2 toothbrushes in my steps, one is a manual brush, one is electric. And so that rectangular shape does a certain thing. And then the round headed get right in between, right behind the front teeth, top and bottom, which is really handy. But I have to say that next week, after a few years of working on it, we have a new electric toothbrush that's coming out. It has 0 EMFs. It has a really special angle.
Well, wait, let's not just look past that, because not everybody knows what you mean by EMFs. So what do you mean by 0 EMFs?
It has 0 electromagnetic frequencies, so which is more of a subtle energetic thing that some people with chemical sensitivities can feel. So you may not feel the difference, but it's just good to know that you're not getting exposure to that. It also has a super long charge, so it's good for about a month. So you can take it away on trips without bringing the charging cord. And there's different heads.
So you can switch it out. So we're actually getting, believe it or not, close to the time when we're going to end. But I want you to tell people, what's the best way to find you? And, just sort of wrap up with great information to go out with.
Well, on our site, livinglibations.com, and you can email us at sage@livinglibations.com and really ask us any of your questions on health, beauty. We also do free consultations, and our team is completely trained by me. And of course, if they come across anything, they have access to me to ask any question. So that's a really great service that we have. And then, of course, all the regular social media channels. On Instagram, we've got Living Libations Official, Nadine Artemis Official, and my books are on our site and wherever books are sold.
And those books, again, are the one we focused on today was Holistic Dental Care, and her other beautiful book is all about herbs, and it's Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance. So thank you so much for being our guest today, Nadine.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, listeners, because you're why we do our show. And thank you for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced at or near the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamai, at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.